Welcome you all for the Raaonline teaching program. I am Dr. Monica, consultant pediatrician. Today we are going to see about an important topic on central nervous system infections. This central nervous system infections, it carries a significant cause of morbidity and mortality in children. The introduction of multiple conjugate vaccines has greatly reduced the incidence of bacterial infection of the CNS. But still, viral infections remains a significant cause of CNS disease. Also, atypical bacterial, fungal and parasitic pathogens also contributes to the smaller number of pediatric CNS infection. So, regarding the classification of the central nervous system infection, we will read it under two headings, that is meningitis and encephalitis, based upon the affected tissue. So, meningitis basically it describes the primary involvement of the meninges, whereas encephalitis it indicates the brain parenchymal involvement. So, in meningitis, meningitis, it basically describes the involvement of the meninges. Okay. Encephalitis, involvement of the brain parenchyma. But though there is an anatomical distinction between meninges and brain parenchyma, but most of the time during the time of infection, both are combinedly affected, that is meningoencephalitis. The term it call it as the meningoencephalitis, and this happens in most of the cases. Okay, so brain abscess is the most common example for the focal infection of the central nervous system. So one more entity is the brain abscess, which is the focal lesion. So, three forms of brain infection. One is meningitis involving meninges, encephalitis involving brain parenchyma, and brain abscess showing the focal infection of the central nervous system. So, we are going to see about the acute bacterial meningitis. So, acute bacterial meningitis is one of the serious periodic infections because it is associated with a more number of complications and also a long-term risk of morbidity and mortality. So, regarding the causative organisms, in various age groups, various organisms forms the major common cause. So, in that way, in newborns, more commonly gram-negative bacteria is the most common cause producing acute bacterial meningitis, followed by staphylococcus and beta streptococcus. And in between 2 months to 24 months, like 2 months to 2 years, this H influenza is more common than streptococcus pneumonia, and in more than 2 years, pneumococcal and meningococcal infections forms the majority. So, this is regarding the causative more common organisms in different age groups. So, what is the underlying pathology in the acute bacterial meningitis? So, if you see, based upon the underlying organism, certain defect it causes in our immune function. That is, in case of recurrent meningococcal infection, there will be defective in the complement system pathway. That is, C5 to C8 pathway is affected because of meningococcal infection. Whereas lethal meningococcal disease causes defect in the properdent system. And in case of pneumococcal and H influenza type B, there will be splenic dysfunction or asplenia. That is, splenic dysfunction is basically like sickle cell anemia or any trauma or congenital defects like congenital acquired defects and chemotherapy. The child is on chronic immunosuppression like AIDS and malignancies. These are all causing the splenic dysfunction or asplenia. And in case of Listeria monocytogenes infections, it mainly causes the T lymphocyte defects. T lymphocyte defects basically in case of malignancies, in case of immunosuppression, that is HIV AIDS, in case of immunosuppression, and in long-standing chemotherapy. So, in these cases, there will be T lymphocyte defects, and the more common organism is Listeria monocytogenes. Okay. So, this is regarding the organism and the specific immune dysfunction produced by the organism. So, regarding the CSF pathology, in the congenital or acquired CSF leak or cochlear implants, it causes more than 30 times risk in causing the pneumococcal meningitis. Okay. And in case of lumbosacral, dermal sinus and myelomeningocele, there is more common staphylococcal infection, anaerobic and gram-negative enteric bacterial meningitis. In CSF shunt infections, it is basically the underlying organism is Pseudomonas aeruginosa and Staphylococcus species. So, based upon the CSF pathology, what are the common causative organisms producing meningitis? So, this maybe they can ask in your MCQs. Okay. So, what type of organisms is a common cause? For example, in lumbosacral, dermal sinus or myelomeningocele, which organism is the more common cause for producing meningitis? Then you may have to go for staphylococcal or anaerobic or gram-negative, depends upon what option they have given. So, this is one. And what is the mechanism? How this bacterial meningitis affects the brain? So, if you see, the major route of entry is through nasopharyngeal route. This nasopharyngeal colonization, basically the microbiome of the nasopharynx, if you see, it is a complex community of bacteria. That is, some bacteria enhances the colonization of other bacteria, or in case of the vice versa, some bacteria will inhibit the colonization of other bacteria. Like for example, two main causes like Streptococcus pneumonia and H. influenza type B causing meningitis. If the Streptococcus pneumonia is there, it synthesizes hydrogen peroxide. So, if you see, this Streptococcus pneumonia produces hydrogen peroxide which inhibits the H. influenza type B organism, whereas this H. influenza type B, conversely, it evokes the specific immune response that targets the clearance of Streptococcus pneumonia. So, this everything happens in the nasopharynx. Okay. So, when these organisms locally invade the nasopharynx, it enters into the bloodstream causing bacteremia, and after entering the bloodstream, it produces the endothelial cell injury by release of the inflammatory markers, cytokines, and thereby it invades the meninges, and also it causes increased blood-brain barrier permeability. So, while increasing the blood-brain barrier permeability, it causes vasogenic edema because there is loss of albumin. Because of the increased permeability, more proteins are moved outside, so resulting in loss of albumin causing vasogenic edema. And this endothelial cell injury, because of the released inflammatory cytokines causing meningeal invasion, it enters into the subarachnoid space, thereby it increases the CSF outflow resistance, that is, it obstructs the CSF outflow causing hydrocephalus. So, hydrocephalus in turn increases the hydrostatic pressure causing interstitial edema. So, hydrostatic pressure because of the obstructed hydrocephalus causes interstitial edema, which again raises the intracranial pressure. The cytokines that are released during the inflammatory process, what happens? It causes cytotoxic edema, thereby it also increases the intracranial pressure. So, in acute bacterial meningitis, the intracerebral pressure increases by 3 types, that is vasogenic edema, interstitial edema and cytotoxic edema. Also, the released cytokines causes cerebral vasculitis producing cerebral infarction. So, all these things in turn decreases the cerebral blood flow. It decreases the cerebral blood flow. So, this is the underlying pathology that happens in the case of acute bacterial meningitis. So, this decreased cerebral blood flow, basically when the intracranial pressure exceeds more than, when the intracranial pressure exceeds more than 30 centimeters of mercury, then it causes reduced cerebral perfusion pressure that is less than 50 mmHg. So, maybe these values they can ask in the MCQ point of view. So, causing the systemic hypotension. The CPP is nothing but cerebral perfusion pressure, it reduces by 50 millimeters of mercury. So, it results in hypotension.